Hello and good afternoon. Good afternoon, one and all. We're having some last-minute issues, unfortunately due to a health problem that for sure will be overcome very short. Well, unfortunately, the recipient of the award cannot be with us. Hopefully he can follow us online. He's at home. Hopefully it's going to be a minor health issue, and that's why, well, also the mayor has had a last-minute problem, and she cannot be here. Even if we are kind of overcoming the pandemic or the main restrictions attached to the pandemic, it seems like we're still having some problem. I would like to congratulate, of course, the recipient of the award, this great writer, Don Winslow. Some authors have even called him the drug dealer's writer. He represents very much the previous recipients of the Pepe Carvalho Awards. And I would say that all the recipients have been genre writers, but committed writers at the same time. So fiction writers, but very much committed with social realities, not trying to avoid reality, but on the contrary, focusing on it. And that's what Winslow does, more specifically regarding drug trafficking. This morning, he reminded us that he was the recipient of the RBA award here in Barcelona in 2015. I can't remember the title of the book, but in his remarks, he referred to the 130 journalists that had disappeared in their struggle against drug trafficking in Mexico. This is a way to tell us, those who live in calm environments, that, well, we can have fun while reading the book, but also being aware of a shared reality. Drug trafficking, I mean, the money that feeds drug trafficking and the armies that threaten democracies comes from the West, from Europe, from the States. So thank you very much, welcome and congratulations. And I hope that the spirit, his spirit, will invade the genre. I would like to greet all the councillors, the commissioner, Carlos Zanon, who is doing an excellent job, not only when it comes to programming, but also when it comes to developing the Bece Negra, Ana Salles, members of the jury, and dear friends that have joined us in this festival that little by little is recovering the lost normality. This year we have focused in Poplano, the neighborhood, but I'm sure that Bece Negra will be alive again in the near future and will make Barcelona the capital of the black genre. I am sure that the Pepe Carvalho Award is the most visible symbol of the Bece Negra. We all remember Pepe Carvalho and his speeches and remarks. He was the father of Bece Negra, Pepe Carvalho. He was extremely touching in his remarks, and his words, Paco Camarasa's words, always referred to the festival, which was deeply rooted in the city, in Barceloneta, in the neighborhood, and also included the cosmopolitan element, right? Because Bece Negra aims and is probably one of the main festivals in Europe. We've seen these in previous editions, and I am sure we'll keep seeing it in the future editions. So once again, thank you very much to all of you for being here. Thank you very much to all those who make Bece Negra possible. Thanks and congratulations to the recipient of the award, and let's move on. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Jordi Martí. Good afternoon, one and all. We would like to warmly welcome to the awards Pepe Carvalho to Don Winslow in the framework of Pepe Negra, the Black Novel Festival in Barcelona. As the deputy mayor reminded us, we are recovering little by little normality. We welcome the audience for the first time in the last years, and also through social networks and YouTube, of course. And we're going to be flooding Barcelona with Pepe Negra for the upcoming days. We have, unfortunately, bad news because Don Winslow cannot be here with us, but we can see him in the screen, thankfully. And of course, we will give the floor to him in a few minutes for a short moment, but of course it will be very important to hear from him. His biography is fascinating and extremely varied. Before he became a writer, he was a private detective, he was a cinema theater manager and a safari guide, amongst others. Probably this kaleidoscopic perspective of life explains his capacity to transform research and information into creation material after a very successful debut in 1992 with A Cool Breeze on the Underground. Many more interesting novels followed. His trilogy, The Power of the Dog, The Cartel, of course, which was extremely awarded. That's why he has sold more than 500,000 copies only in our country. The Cartel, as many of his titles, has a cinema adaptation, a very high-level cinema adaptation that will probably open the scope to even a wider audience. We will give the floor to Carlos Fanon, the commissioner, one of the commissioners of Pepe Negra, will tell us more about the recipient of this award tonight. Hello and good afternoon, Mr. Jordi Martí, councillors, members of the jury, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, we cannot be physically with Don Winslow. Hopefully, we'll see him back next year here in Barcelona. Last year, we gave the award to an American writer, and other years the same. Different generations of storytellers, authors that vertebrate a narrative on the here and now and the here and tomorrow, which is desperately needed in today's times. This year's edition of Pepe Negra is a claim for literature, black or not black, to keep being human. Human in the sense of having the capacity, the determined and finite capacity to accept inputs, understand technological changes and social changes even without understanding such changes, accumulating information without having the time to process all this information. We don't need to confuse need and accumulate, lying or telling the truth. We need books, novels, poems, and we need songs as well as films. We need histories, we need literary truth, writers, cinema makers, actors, actresses, musics, clowns, and we need time and we need a room to say no, to say stop, to have a break, and again to say no, because from a human perspective we need to better understand what's going on, and we need all these artists to help us imagine what might happen. That's why we always look forward to read Don Winslow and to speak to him, to discuss with him, but we always feel extremely thankful for his books, integrity, and the attempt to point in the map, you are here. Even if in some occasions it becomes uncomfortable, the black genre has amongst its features the capacity to make us feel uncomfortable, to place us in a sort of amoral, crazy, violent, terrible environment where we want, need, hate, and destroy our favorite drug, be it sex, power, money, cocaine, revenge, luxury, or justice. There are many reasons for which Don Winslow deserved the Pepe Carvalho Award, such as his capacity to transform investigation and research into a literary text and hitting or striking readers through his talents by making impossible things possible and not escaping reality in his fiction. And he does so from the perspective of someone who acts in real time, in the real world, and with a great deal of knowledge, no matter what he writes about. Winslow opens up our scope because his books are written from passion, from entertainment, of course, but also from rigor and on the basis of what's real, the responsibility of those who write in order to understand what's going on precisely this way and not another way, whether we like it or not. Winslow's scalp is always a political one, but he never falls into demagogy. Not childish, he places the complexity of the bomb that we have attached in our bodies. That's why drug trafficking is the crazy hot dream of capitalism based on offer and demand. We are all very paternalist, patronizing. That's what he points at. When we say that in Mexico there's a problem with drug trafficking and drug, when in fact the problem is here at home. We are the problem. Europe and the US, we are the main consumers. In the US, they consume around 64,000 million worth in drugs to crazy, violent sociopaths who are destroying society, the governments, and communities. Each drug consumption is accomplice of the atrocities that are happening millions of kilometers away from the luxury table or toilet where it happens, looking to another side and making benefit, doing the contrary of what we say we believe. And that's what Don Winslow talks about. And we are thankful to him for that, with no morale. It's very important for him to tell us that the fight against drug trafficking is a lost war, and we cannot abandon Saigon because Saigon is everything, your home, your body. There is no alternative, there is no way to win or lose this war because there is no end beyond legalization or decriminalization. And Winslow does not hide it. He tells us that right in the face, even if there's despair, frustration, but also politics and hope. Because at the end of the day, in a new pirouette, we're speaking about books that interpel us as citizens and writers, not nihilist fires or childish fires. We're speaking about an attempt to find life, decency, and hope beyond or under the dump. Winslow's contribution in one, two, and several books, and the reality that he has shown in his books, things would be different. Without him, things would be different. He boosted a new way of understanding drug trafficking in borders. This is the magnitude of what he has written since The Power of the Dog, The Cartel, or The Border, without forgetting the rest of his production, the Neil Carey series, Boone Daniels, or City in Flames, Danny Ryan's, that happens in Rhode Island. This is going to be published in April. If you want to write about one of the topics with his point of view, well, it's very important for authors to decide whether they want to be in the shadow of Don Winslow or find another way to approach their histories or their narrative. There is a Don Winslow territory. There are ways of writing which are very much Don Winslow. We know that he very much loves the festival in Barcelona, and I assume that he's unhappy of not being with us. We hope that you will be able to join us very soon next year. Please come all the way to the other side of the border to help us understand that country called the US, the mythical country called the US. And it's very important for us to feel close, but also to understand that we are monsters, selfish, but at the same time that we are powerful when we face lies as lies and books as fantasy adapted environments. Even if it might sound incredible, it's possible in a book. It's difficult yet possible in a book. Don Winslow is not feeling well, he has a flu, and we are handing over this award to thank him for his work and hoping to see him with us next year. Thank you very much, Carlos, for your remarks. Thank you very much. And this makes us think about other recipients in Pepe Carvalho Awards. Joyce caroled last year in an even more difficult session. Juan Madrid in 2020, Claudia Piñeiro in 1920, James in 2018, Ledesma in 2006. But let's focus on this year's recipient and let's hear the verdict of the jury by journalist, novelist, and member of the jury, Sergio Vila San Juan.
Al jurat.
The jury, gathered on June the 28th, 2021, composed by Carlos Zanón, the President, Ana Bella, Nuria Cadenas, Rosa Rivas, Daniel Vázquez Salles, and Sergio Vila San Juan, as a spokesperson, decided to allocate the award Pepe Carvalho 2022 to Don Winslow. The jury underlines the fact that Don Winslow, born in New York in 1953, is the great chronist of reality, a contemporary master of black genre. Winslow has developed a monumental task to do a big picture of the world through sagas, difficult to read, yet incredible. Everything in his work is based on reality, and it becomes a literary slap. Don Winslow have the capacity to transform research and information into creation material to present a fiction, a realist fiction, a cruel fiction that speaks about the main problems or issues in today's societies: corruption, drug cartels, its impact, hypocrisy, is defined in Winslow's work from different perspectives, with direct information, hard information, with no filters, with no magics, with a clear ambition aiming at having a clear impact, and that's what he has achieved. Always, as he says, if I write about my time and about these topics, lying would make no sense, or making fiction would make no sense.
Doncs, conegut el veredicte, serà el tinent del...
Now, we will hand the physical award to Don Winslow's editors. Guillermo from Iberica will be receiving the physical award.
Okay, so Mr. Wilson, first questions, and if you are ready, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Her Excellency, Mrs. Ada Kalal, to Ruth Martinez, Carlos Zanon, thank you for the kind words. To Sergio Villa San Juan, thank you for the kind words, and all the members of the jury. Thank you to the organizers of the BC Negra And to all my Spanish readers, you mean so much to me. You have been so instrumental in my career. I owe you so much. I also want to thank HarperCollins, my publisher, my agent and friend Shane Salerno, and my wife Jean and son Thomas for all their support over the years. I'd like to apologize for not being able to be there in person. I certainly wish I were. Some health issues have gotten in the way, not thankfully COVID, but some kind of a flu. I've been to your beautiful city many times, and your hospitality and graciousness to me and to my family has warmed our hearts. I wish I could be there with you now in that beautiful city and in this beautiful room. This award means a great deal to me. The fact that it was named for the iconic character Pepe Carvalho by the great Manuel Vázquez Montalbán is indeed an honor. And to receive an award in Spain, the home of so many wonderful crime writers, makes it all the more special. And when I see the list of the previous recipients, I am both honored and humbled to be included in their company. These are people whose work I've admired for years. They are my heroes and heroines. To be listed among them is a dream. I'm proud to be an author in the crime genre. Someone once asked me if, as a genre writer, I thought that I lived in a literary ghetto. And I said yes. And I love my neighborhood and my neighbors. Our literary neighborhood is large and varied, from the intricacies of the murder mystery to gritty procedurals, from the lone private eye to the large issues of social realism. Our genre reflects the world as it is. More than most fiction, our genre portrays people in extremis at the ends of their ropes, faced with physical and moral conflicts and dilemmas. More than most fiction, our genre explores the underworld, the poor, the dispossessed, the powerless. Indeed, noir fiction, Negra, if you will, began as stories of humanity against the machine, of women and men struggling to survive in a system designed to grind them down, to find dignity in a world that sought to render them worthless. Our genre is poetic. I'm prejudiced, of course, but I think that the crime novel has some of the most beautiful language in our literature. There is music in the night, a song in the alley. In the stories of common men and women, there is a symphony. We need only listen to hear it. Our genre has a strong tradition with powerful progenitors. In my native language of English, I think, of course, of A. Conan Doyle and Sherlock Holmes, of Agatha Christie, Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett, Ross and John MacDonald, Chester Himes, and the scores of others. But I think we need to go further back than that. What is Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist but a crime novel? Is it a story of pickpockets, swindlers, and has one of the saddest murder scenes in literature? We can claim Mr. Dickens as one of our parents. Or further back still. When I read Shakespeare's Henry IV, I am reading one of the first dramatic portrayals of not just kings and princes, but of thieves, pickpockets, ladies of the evening. When he takes us out of court into the alleys of Eastcheap, he too is one of the first crime writers. We belong to him as well. Or further back still, when I read the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Aeneid, the Orestes plays of Aeschylus, I see the themes of honor, betrayal, murder, revenge, and justice that I find in contemporary crime fiction. They too are our ancestors. But this is a Spanish award, and I am, virtually anyway, in Spain. So I want to devote a few minutes, if you will be so kind, to speak of the great Spanish original, the source, the headwaters of so much that has flowed into our modern crime fiction. I speak of Miguel Cervantes, Don Quixote. After all, he gave us the thieves, the highwaymen, the fools, the common people, in the latter case so wonderfully depicted in the character of Sancho Panza. But he did far more than that. He gave us Quixote himself. He gave us our soul. When we as authors send detectives out to find the truth, aren't we sending them on a quixotic mission? When we set our private eye to help a powerless person in need, aren't we sending him or her to tilt at windmills that might be giants? Don Quixote was, after all, a seeker of justice. In such a beautiful, touching, and ultimately futile way. He sought to live nobly in an ignoble time, to be heroic in an unheroic age, to live decently in a world that was fundamentally indecent. This is the central question of crime fiction. Raymond Chandler famously wrote about the detective hero. Down these mean streets a man must go who is not himself mean, who is neither tarnished nor afraid. He is the hero. He is everything. He must be a complete man and a common man, and yet an unusual. I don't know if Chandler was thinking about Don Quixote, but he certainly could have been. Philip Marlowe puts on a fedora instead of a helmet, a jacket instead of a rusty piece of armor. He straps on a gun instead of picking up a lance, but still he goes to tilt at windmills. The cynical detective is the disappointed idealist. He still believes in truth despite being deluged in lies. She still believes in justice despite all evidence to the contrary. And when they are beaten, what do? They pick themselves up and, like Quixote, ride back into the fight. Quixote always fought for justice for the powerless. What does our modern homicide detective do? After all, who is less powerful than a murder victim? Quixote tilted his lance at giants. What do our private eyes, our lawyers, even some of our criminal characters do? Fight the revolving door of the justice system. One cannot help but think of windmills. That is indeed a giant, as are at times corrupt governments and drug cartels. And let's be honest with ourselves. It's not just our characters, is it, that tilt at windmills? Don't we as authors do the same? Aren't we on a search for truth, for justice, however disillusioned we might become in the process? When we are beaten, as we often are, don't we pick up the pen and start again? Don't we, as did Quixote, descend into the cave of Montesinos to remain in the darkness for a while, to delve the depths of the human soul, to come up again, hopefully, with some enlightenment and some redemption? Isn't that, in fact, our job, our quixotic mission? I probably shouldn't go as far to say that without Don Quixote, there is no modern crime fiction, but without Don Quixote, there is no modern crime fiction. Even those who have never read the novel are unconsciously influenced by its themes, passed down through the generations to us, its inheritors, in this beautiful genre that we love so much. So, I know my antecedents, the heroes and heroines who gave me the genre that has given me so much. It is with great appreciation and humility that I accept this beautiful award. Te agradezco desde los más profundo de mi alma. Thank you.
Té la paraula.
Moltes gràcies.
Thank you very much.
Pitch, Mr. Winslow. Realment unes paraules...
There's no way, there's no doubt that we've heard. I mean, I would like to echo the Commissioner. Hopefully, you will be amongst us next year. I believe you are one of the unavoidable representatives of our perspective on the black genre, not understood as entertainment, but on the opposite, the genre that confronts reality, that refers to reality, that speaks about reality, trying to elucidate the truth. Today we've gone beyond the limits of the genre. Homer, Dickens, Cervantes, while the limits of Pepe Negra can expand also, right? I would like to conclude by saying, or by telling you, that probably the little statue that we will be shipping to you is probably a little Quixote that was going down the streets of Raval with Manolo Vázquez Montalban. Probably your remarks, your words, will make it possible that every time we face an impossible text, we think about the Quixote in the researcher, in the lawyer, in the private detective that fights for truth, for justice, for life, and for the truth of life in the streets, in popular environments, in dark areas of society, as we've so much enjoyed while reading Pepe Carvalho's work. Once again, thank you very much to all of you, and I believe that today is a day in which we need to underline the importance of the author, but of course also the fact that Barcelona is deeply committed with literature and with culture, and that's why we need to celebrate, and we need to hand over awards like this one to tell ourselves that we need some literary slaps, as it has been said by Sergio San Juan, to open our eyes and look at reality. Thank you very much for being here once again. Enjoy the rest of Pepe Negra, and see you very soon. And once again, Mr. Wilson, we hope to see you very soon next year in Barcelona in 2023.
Doncs moltes gràcies.
So once again, thank you very much, and you are most welcome to join any of the Pepe Negra sessions. We'll have a family picture. Please, authorities, representatives, join us here in the podium, and once again, thank you very much.